This is the digital ethno-narrative for FSoS 3102 by Crystal, Miley, and Karen. The purpose of this is to learn about another individual's life and culture based on their personal family narratives. We had the pleasure of interviewing Taj Thomas, a high school friend of me and Miley's. Taj resides in Brooklyn Park, but he was born in New York. He is currently 20 years old and a student at Concordia University. Taj's family comes from the Caribbean. From doing research about the Caribbean, we found the following things. In the Caribbean, there are more than 7,000 islands. The most common currency in the Caribbean is the Eastern Caribbean dollar. One US dollar is equal to 2.1 Eastern Caribbean dollars. Since the Caribbean is made up of so many islands, there are also many different religions, but Christianity is the most common. The languages in the Caribbean for the locals are Patois or Creole. However, English is the primary language. According to Brereton and Clark, the culture of the Caribbean people is a blend of African, American Indian, European, and in some cases, Asian influences. The majority of the families in the Caribbean are from Africa because Africans were taken from their country to the Caribbean as slaves back in the 16th century. The Africans settled in the Caribbean after being set free in 1800s. The typical family size is about 3 or 4 members. In 1960, the average birth rate per woman in Latin America and the Caribbean was 5.9 children. In 2015, that number has decreased to 2.1 birth rate per woman. Generally, the cultural norms consist of fathers as the economic providers and protectors of the family, while the mothers are the main caretakers of the family and the home. Dominantly, the females are the head of the household. Girls are expected to do domestic chores around the house, and boys are expected to do the outside chores and yard work. Where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I came to Minnesota like pretty much 2 weeks after I was born. So,
Where would you say that you are local?
I have to say I'm local to Minnesota, like specifically Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park area, because that's where I grew up most of my life.
Where are your parents local?
Um, I have to say they probably identify more with like either New York or their firstborn country. But,
Do you speak any languages aside from English?
no, not really. In the West Indies, they speak something called Patois, but it's not exactly a different language. It's just broken up English. So like instead of saying stuff like "What's going on," you'd say like "Wagwan." Like, well, that's Jamaican, but yeah. But if I try to speak it like just now, someone would laugh at me if they were like actually from Jamaica and they spoke it. They would laugh at me.
How would you identify yourself culturally or ethnically?
I guess I would identify myself mostly as like, well, because of my background, I guess I would consider myself more like Caribbean American or West Indian American, but I'm also a Black American, and calling me African American isn't too far off either, so I'm pretty good with any of them.
So, Taj, by any chance, do you know if there is some kind of meaning behind your name?
I know the meaning of my name. There isn't like something really special to it. Taj means crown prince, but my mom got the name from like she had a friend whose son had the same name, and she really really liked it, so I ended up with it.
Does your family have certain traditions that you celebrate?
Yeah, we have a couple. For we have like a lot of it kind of goes around food. Like in Christmas, we cook something called pepper pot, and it's pretty expensive to make, but that's why we only eat it like once a year. And it's we only make it around Christmas time, and it's just kind of like this I wouldn't really fully call it a soup, but you can kind of call it a soup because it's kind of it has like a broth and like as meat and stuff, and you eat it with bread or you can eat it with rice too. And
What is the significance of those traditions, do you think?
significance. Honestly, to be quite sure, I'm not exactly sure what the significance of pepper pot is, but I know that like I guess traditionally, like if you want to talk about like language, um, in the West Indies, the reason why we have like the broken English that we speak is because um, since what a lot of people also don't know is that like black people were brought from Africa and brought from all over the place instead of just the Americas. So when they were brought to the West Indies, people came up with like a different way of speaking English to like confuse the slave masters. But yeah, that's probably like one of the only things I can think of at the moment.
What is your family's religion, and do you personally comply with that religion?
My family's religion, we're Seventh-day Adventist Christians, and yes, I do personally identify with it. I am a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. I wouldn't say that I'm not like very, very religious, but my family's not very, very religious either. So we don't go to church like every week. We try to go, when we can, but
Have your religion impacted your life while growing up? And yes, if yes, in what ways?
I would have to say yes for sure. Yes, always my family, we always make it a big thing, always keeping God around, or at least always praying, when you can. Pray to God for everything. Always know that God is the one that without him you would be nothing. And yeah, I mean, I would have to say so, yes.
So we're interested in how culture influenced your family life. Can you tell us a little bit about your family, like how many people are in your immediate family?
My immediate family includes my grandmother, my brother, my sister, my mom, and my dad, and myself. So I guess 6 in total.
What would you say is the average size family based on your cultural background?
It kind of varies. I know that like there was always like a long time ago. I don't know about now, but I know that like probably like in the '80s ish, there was like a stereotype of Jamaicans that they had really big family sizes, and my dad, he comes from a family size of like 8 kids in his family, and including his mom and his dad. So, but then I don't think that they're as big now. But like my mom, she comes from a 3-person family, but she's from Guyana. Nobody knows about Guyana, but
Are you close to your parents at all?
yes, I'm very close to my parents, without a doubt.
How would you describe your family structure?
Family structure. Um,
For example, gender roles and stuff.
okay, okay. Well, I mean, generals. Well, usually like the women are kind of like in our culture, women are kind of like they cook, they clean, they also work too, and men are like they're considered the primary breadwinner, like the man of the family, the leader. But women are also very strong. Like we also view women as very strong because of their ability to go through childbirth, and almost every man in the West Indies they know that they wouldn't be able to handle it most likely. So I mean we do view them as very strong, and they do also have like there is no, even though like men are kind of considered like head of the family in a way, women are also very, they have a lot of what's the word, they have a lot of say in what happens on, and they can make decisions on their own. Like they're their own people. Like they don't have to follow like whatever like the man says or everything like that. Like women they do what they want, and they will make sure they tell you what they want.
Okay, so yeah, with that being said, while we were researching the Caribbeans, we read that women are heads of the household. Would you say that is what you're saying?
Not exactly head of the household. Men are still kind of considered head of the household, and they take a lot of pride into it too. But women, they are, as I said before, they're very strong, and they take, men and women. We don't really like, they don't like see it like as like a task. Like they don't see like, women don't see like having to raise the kids as like a bad thing, or like men don't see like it as a bad thing either. Like they take a lot of pride in the and what they supposed to do for the family or what they want to do for the family, but each person, both men and women, have a very strong say in what goes on in the family, and like it's not like there's not like one person that's making the decisions or anything like that. Like women, both men and women, they both can make great like large decisions for the family.
So, growing up, did you notice any patterns of gender roles in your family specifically?
I would say so. Like my usually my mom and my grandmother are the one that cook and clean, and then like me and my dad we were responsible for like taking out the trash, doing outside work and things like that. But my dad also cooks sometimes. Like if like nothing's cooked, my dad will cook. Like if something has to be cooked. But I myself, I have not learned. I do not know how to cook at all. Like I was never like taught it, but like, and like we don't put like a lot of like stress on teaching like men to cook. But my brother, but my sister, my mom plans to teach her how to cook like when she's like 8, like pretty much like pretty right away. But we also, I mean, but I also clean too. Like I clean around the house and like I do that a lot. So I mean, yeah.